Welcome to the DVDs, the ultimate podcast for women over 40 who are ready to take control of their health, ditch the diets, and lose weight for good. I'm your host and coach, Danya Powers, and today we're going to talk about something that so many women struggle with on their fat loss journey. What happens when life throws a curveball and your perfect meal plan goes out the window? Or the worst one is when your favorite recipe really doesn't fit into your macros. Or you toss the whole day? Do you beat yourself up? Do you start over Monday? Whatever it is that's coming at you. I'm going to teach you how to sub out macros like a pro. This is important information. You're going to want to have a pen or a pencil and something to write on so that you get this down pat, okay? I want you to be able to feel confident and make this journey work with your real life. That's what we do as divas. We are teaching women how to live their lives like normal because we're not just living in this perfect Pinterest world, right? Although I do love Pinterest. Don't go look at my Pinterest, you'll judge me because I'll have truffles and protein shakes all together at the same time that I pin. But anyways, when I started my journey at 40, if you haven't heard my story, I was doing what a lot of women do. I was trying to follow a 1,200 calorie meal plan perfectly. That's what I was trying to do. And when something didn't fit or I was out and about, didn't have the exact ingredients, I would literally not eat because it would feel like I would fail. And so that's what happens with a lot of women when I've talked to them. They'll skip food rather than try to figure out something that will actually work in their plan. Here's the thing. Life doesn't follow a plan. My daughter just recently had my first grandbaby, and one of the first things that they do in a hospital situation is they leave you with the baby. And when I got there, I was giving them some time and space to bond. When I got there a little bit later, she was like, Mom, they left us in here and we have to do this all by ourselves. And I was like, well, you're the parents now. It's not this perfect plan. There's not a book for Ezra. He doesn't have, well, he does a book in the Bible, but that's separate, right? But I mean, there's not a book for Ezra. He doesn't have his own, this is how you take care of Ezra the baby, right? So life is the same way. The problem isn't your willpower. The problem is that most plans don't teach you how to pivot. We talked a lot about pivoting in my last podcast, but once I started working with my coach and learning about flexible eating and macros, I realized I didn't have to start over. I just have to learn how to sub smarter. And especially since I was eating so much more food because I was eating a 12 to 1300 calorie a day diet. And the very first thing she did was up my macronutrients to 2500 calories a day in order to lose weight, which still at this point in time in my life, sometimes I think about it, doesn't make any sense. But your body if it's starved of nutrients, what it needs is nutrients. And this completely changed how I approach nutrition, not just for me, but for every single one of my clients. So the hundreds of women that I have helped know that this is a game changer. They know that this is a game changer. So if you feel like you can't hit your plan perfectly and you feel like you should quit, this is for you, okay? But learning how to swap foods and adjust on the fly, there's a lot of freedom in that. So this is really important to take in. This is why when I work with my clients, I customize their meal plans to take the guesswork out of what to eat. I literally hand them a paper and say, if you'll eat this food, you'll lose weight. And if they do, the science is there. I have done the math. I work with dietitians and nutritionists, even though I am not a registered dietitian or nutritionist. I work with them to make sure that this plan is sound because every single person, we need to make sure that we're meeting their needs. But let's be honest, sometimes you just want to be told, here's what works. Here's how much, especially women, we're busy. And most of the time, it's like having your own chef without having the chef. Like, here's your meal plan. Here's your menu for the whole week. Here's your grocery list, etc. Here's how to build your plate. You know all the things. And that structure really makes the plan simple and doable for women. But what I tell my divas is this: structure gets you started, but flexibility is what keeps you consistent. So over time, we go from a phase 1 to a phase 2 to a phase 3. And over time, we are learning how to swap smart when life happens because, we just had Easter over the weekend. You probably didn't eat 100% on plan, but if you were like me, I was up in the kitchen, like measuring ham, like this is how much 6 ounces of ham looks like because I knew how much protein was in that because I had, looked it up. But this is where the learning really clicks and it helps you keep going no matter what the week is going to throw at you. So, macro swap basics. So thinking in terms, what is a macro? Somebody just asked me that. It's actually Gage. He's one of the producers here. But the macro is the makeup of your calories. Basically, you have proteins, you have fats, and you have carbs. Okay, let's focus on proteins first, because proteins are probably the best one to focus on when you are trying to lose weight, because they take a lot of, they actually take, you burn calories to burn protein. It takes a lot more calories to burn just burning protein. So it's in long term, it's going to serve you the best when you're on a weight loss journey. Not to mention the fact that it's a building block of your muscle, right? So it takes longer to digest, et cetera, et cetera. But think about, like, how would you swap things? So protein swaps are like, if you don't have Greek yogurt, swap it with cottage cheese. Okay. Chicken breast, you can go for a lean beef or a ground turkey. Does that make sense? You're kind of looking, they're roughly about the same calorie exchange per ounce. Tuna packets, deli turkey slices. That was the one that I did today. I was out of tuna packets and I didn't realize it. My hungry teenager keeps me out of food all the time. What about protein powder? What if you don't have protein powder? Egg whites are great. They're great. You do have to eat quite a bit of them, but they're great. Or Fairlife milk is a great product. It's got quite a bit of protein in it. You have something to go to, right? With carbs, you want to think like, how can I swap out a carb? First of all, focus on as many whole grains as you can. Focus on getting vegetables as carbs as you can. Focus on getting fruit as carbs if you can, right? Does that make sense? So we want to make sure that, like, you're eating things like rice. You can sub that out with rice cakes, with sweet potatoes, stuff like that. Or oats, you can sub out, you could sub out rice again for that one, or you could sub out like quinoa. Have you ever heard of quinoa? Quinoa is a higher protein grain. You can also just sub out like a wheat bulgur, something like that as well. Farro is a great one if you guys are familiar with that one. It's really, it's got like a chew to it. It's like a toothy kind of grain to eat, and I enjoy it. What about tortillas? You could do tortillas, or you could do rice paper wraps. Have you guys ever heard of those? They're kind of weird. They're rubbery, but they're fun to eat. And then low carb wraps, those are really good. I love a lot of the low carb wraps. Low carb wraps used to taste like cardboard. They're amazing now. You can find like the softest tortillas that are just filled with tons of fiber, and they don't have a whole lot of net carbs in them. But when you focus on fruit, I mean, you're eating all the fruit. You're focused on berries, apples, oranges, bananas, all of these things that I'm telling you, they're super flexible and they swap out for each other. Okay. So moving to fat swaps, and listen, I want to just give you on fats, make sure that you measure fats, because for proteins and carbs, for each gram of a protein and a carb, you're getting, it's about 4 calories. But for fats, for every gram, it's 9 calories. It's more than double. So you always want to make sure that you measure your fats. One of the most frustrating things that I see is people promote keto recipes. They make me crazy because there is so much fat in that recipe that you can have like a tablespoon of it and it's 300 calories. It's insane. So you have to really pay attention to your fats because they are an expensive macronutrient. Having said that, they're very important for keeping our hormones balanced. So we do not skip our fats. We just make sure that we measure our fats. At the end of the day, I always make sure that I hit my fats because it makes a big difference in how I sleep, whether or not I have hot flashes through the night, and it makes a big difference in how refreshed I wake up the next day. It really does. So make sure you don't skip your fats. That's my big fat speech right there. Fats are avocado. If you don't have avocado, you can have olive oil or you can have nuts. Do you see? Full fat cheese. You could go with a little bit of reduced fat cheese if you've got that, or you can have nuts or seeds or something like that. With mayo, if you wanted to sub out mayo, you could go with a lower fat version if you want and go like Greek yogurt. I go for an olive oil mayo for the most part, and I go for avocado-based mayo, those sorts of things. But it doesn't mean that you can't have mayo, just measure it out. I usually measure out the way that I measure mayonnaise and peanut butter, just so you know, I put the whole jar on the food scale. I turn it on, I put it on grams, and a tablespoon is about 16 grams on either one of those. And I just use a spoon to pull out until the thing says negative 16 grams. That way I can lick the spoon. Because otherwise, if you're like digging it out, measuring on the thing, then you lick the spoon, you've had extra fats. And like I said, they're expensive. So just pay attention to those things. So those little bitty tips help a ton, and they help keep you from over consuming calories, and then that way you don't come out of your calorie deficit. Because if you're eating 2,500 calories as your deficit, you don't want to be eating 2,900 calories, 3,500. It's really easy to do if you're eating fats, because like I said, a little goes a long way. So think of your macros kind of like your wardrobe, right? Your favorite black pants are in the laundry. You don't show up to work in your pajamas. If you do, that's weird. Maybe you can do that at your job. I don't know. Or maybe you're like me, you're on Zoom calls a lot. So I could do that, right? But not really if you're on a professional job. You go find another outfit that works. It's the same thing with your macronutrients. It's flexibility that keeps you in the game and it keeps you in a job, right? So take a second to think about where you tend to throw in the towel with your nutrition. What does that look like for you? Is it when you're traveling? Is it when your family wants something different or a holiday meal like Easter? What's one area this week that you could practice pivoting instead of quitting? That's what I want you to look at. Some of the apps that I use are MyFitnessPal. There's an app out there called Lose It. It's not my favorite. I don't like it, but a lot of my clients come from that app and they say good things about it. My app within house, you can track all the food inside of my app. So you just want to find a way to go look at, how many grams of this means this many calories, and that's where you find it, or ounces or whatever it is. But get good at reading labels. When you are reading a label, you're reading the serving size at the top, and make sure you're paying attention to that. If you are on a weight loss journey, paying attention to that, make sure not only that you are not overeating it, but for the women that I work with, usually they're under eating. And that's how as I gained my 50 pounds, that's how we got big, right? So every day is higher in fat. If your everyday is high in fat, lower your carbs. Okay. If every day is low in fat, raise, I'm so sorry. Let me say that again. If every day is higher in fat, lower your fats. If every day is higher in carbs, lower your carbs. Try to eat about the same amount of protein as you do carbs. Keep those pretty even. I tell my clients when they're starting, a balanced program is going to be 35, 35, 30. That's 35% protein, 35% carbs, and 30% fat. But if you are having a higher fat day, lower your fats as you go along. Does that make sense? If it starts at high fat, as the day goes, pull the fats out of it and take them down to a lower number. And then I would also bump up your protein, because the protein, you want to eat enough protein that you are having true satiety, that your body can do what it needs to do to repair. But if you are low on carbs, if you are low on fats, and then you are trying to get everything with protein, you're not going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel hungry because you need all of those macronutrients to make up for it. So if you're low on carbs, add some fruit. Add some rice cakes. Add some sweet potatoes, or potatoes even. Potatoes get a bad rap, and they saved like entire countries like Ireland from starvation. So the key is not to panic. The key is not to punish. The key is not to just restart it. It's just to adjust it. It's to take a look at it. And so if it's higher, lower it, right? If you're starting your calories out all built with fats, lower it as the day goes on and bump it up with protein and carbs. If your day starts out with really high carbs, at the end of the day, end it with a little bit more fats, which is what I tend to do because my days are really active starting out. So I have a tendency to front load my carbs, is what I tell my clients. This is what my clients do so they don't feel like they're dieting. They are learning a skill set that lasts. That's really important. And so I know this is a lot of details today, but if this is the real life kind of help you need somebody to break this down and make it simple for you. The kind of flexibility and education that teaches you how to win without the extremes. This is exactly what we do inside of Empowered Coaching. I have 5 spots opening May 1st for women that want to lose 20 to 30 pounds and about 10 inches off of their waist in the next 90 days. And if that's you, I want to offer you the opportunity to work with me and have a plan designed specifically for you, for your life, your hormones, and your metabolism. Send me a message on Danya Powers and Coaching. Send me the word ready. Danya Powers Coaching. Send me on Danya Powers EC on Instagram, Danya Powers EC on TikTok, or you can find me on Facebook as Danya Powers. Just message me the word ready and I will answer you. I'm also on YouTube with Empowered Coaching with Danya Powers, and I have a website as well, www.empowereddcoaching.com. Let's talk about what would work for you. The win isn't perfection, it's the pivot. Always. I'm going to keep emphasizing that to you because just saying it different ways, hopefully something will stick. You have to adapt to become consistent. Sub out the foods, not your commitment. Stay strong, stay consistent, and stay fabulous, my divas. Thanks for tuning into this latest episode of the Diva Deets. If this helped you and you found it valuable, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Ready for more support? Join my free Facebook community or join my coaching community. The details are in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, stay strong, stay consistent, and stay fabulous, my divas.